Hello lovelies, Lesley. Not quite enough energy this week. Thank you for all the very positive responses to my co-host last week. This one's going to be much quieter, a bit like a hangover after a fun evening out. You know? So yes, it's been a very different week this week, so come knit with me and be my lovely. Yes, it's much quieter. What I didn't tell you last week is that after, well, it's because Bev and I recorded and then this happened, but after we'd recorded that and we just kind of carried on with our day, and then because we were out sort of pretty much all day during the days last week, we just had the evenings at home. Bev was reading a book, I was knitting. She found it hysterical that I could crochet and snore at the same time. And I wasn't faking the snoring. I wasn't faking the crochet either, but she found it hysterical that my hands kept going. Her giggling woke me up at one point. So after we'd recorded the podcast, the vlog last week, had something to eat later, sat in our chairs, and the next thing I knew, it was 11:15. I had just crashed for a few hours. And opposite where I sit, there's a radio with a clock in it, so I could see the time. So I opened my eyes, saw the time, and just went, "I'm so sorry." And Bev was still awake. I mean, she's sometimes a earlier to bed person than that, but she was finishing the book that she was reading. So I hope my snoring didn't disrupt her too much. I've got the door open, so if you hear sirens and traffic and so forth outside, apologies. It's a nice day here. Having complained about how cold it's been, we've actually got some warmth at the moment. So yes, it's been a nice day, and the door is open so the dog can pad in and out at her leisure. So the rest of the week has been much quieter. On Sunday, had a Zoom call with some friends, which was lovely. Always good to catch up with them. Himself has been away since halfway through last week, so he's back tomorrow. And it's just been me and the dog, and I've been back at work, and I've been really low energy. I've got some health stuff going on, which I'll spare you the details, but it has left me fairly low energy at the moment. So every time I come back from like a visit, or a meeting, that's what I mean by a visit, or a ceremony, I have to have a little nap. So a lot of sleeping going on this week, which is fine because the dog doesn't mind. She'll just sit next to me and curl up. And she's quite cosy. But it has been a very low energy week, and I haven't done much crafting. Come the evenings, by the time I've walked the dog and had something to eat, I've just kind of not really felt like doing much. I'm way behind on podcasts that I watch, and I think realistically I'm going to have to kind of draw a line and say, right, I've missed that week, let's start again here, otherwise I'll be forever trying to catch up with myself. So apologies to anyone that I normally watch and comment on. I will have missed a week and I'll catch up with you. But back to work, so that's been fairly busy, and about it really. So what am I working on? Well, this is a cardigan, and this is the yarn that I made by applying some lace weight silk, which I had on cones, some quite rough silk, with some undyed lace weight yarn, wool yarn. So I'll show you the marling. So I'm working it at quite a loose gauge because I wanted something quite light and drapey. And this cardigan is the Calliope, and I have the pattern here to be able to show you who the designer was. Melissa Clulau. Now there is a Calliope sweater which I think is published through Espace Tricot, and this is a cardigan version of the same. I'm making some modifications because this has a deep raglan, and although there's no schematic, if I show you, it's a free pattern so I can show you bits of it, but if I show you the sketch, you can see that that is a deep raglan, certainly deeper than I would want. So I was looking at how to make that less deep, more shallow, whichever way you want to describe it. And this led to an exercise in gauge, tension. Yes, I know, that old chestnut. I'm going to talk about it all for the month-end podcast, because it actually proved quite interesting, because although my stitch gauge matched the pattern, my row gauge doesn't, and that's helping me with this particular modification, which is going to end up being less of a modification than I expected. So, that's proving quite handy. This cardigan is going to pretty much appear, I think, all one colour, even though there will be different of the lace weight. I've got 3 different lace weight cream undyed yarns. One of them went into this ball, so although they're slightly different, it will look fairly uniform, I think. Might be a bit of contrast as one goes to the next, but I think it will look fairly straightforward, so hopefully that will all be okay. The other project I'm working on, which again I will record for month end, is a crochet project. One moment, caller. Now, viewers who've been around a while will remember that I had started a sweater, I can't remember which pattern I was using. Then I was going to make a top-down Henley, a knitted pattern. I found the fabric I was getting was a bit dense, and I wasn't enjoying the knitting of it. There were some other things going wrong, and I was getting to the point where I think, do I change this? Do I carry on? And there is that old adage that, particularly if you know there's a mistake in it, if you can't live with it now, you're not going to live with it in 20 rows time. If you can live with it now, keep going. But if you can't, you're not going to like it anymore then. Which is true. So I decided to unpick it, and I am making it up as I go along, but I am making basically a cape. I should be a caped crusader. So this is a kind of poncho type of arrangement. I kept, because I'd already unpicked this thing about 3 or 4 times, I kept the collar that I'd knitted and then just crocheted into the stitches. So it's a bit of a hybrid item. I've got this far down and I've got a big gap here because what I want this for is to just keep in my office and just kind of throw over my shoulders when it's cold. Hence I like the collar, because the back of my neck gets chilly. But if I'm working, I want to be able to poke my arms through rather than have everything kind of draping heavily. This is the plan. So what I've done here is I've left a gap. Made a bit of a mess of that actually. That bit can come undone. Yes, we'll change that. So I have a gap here, and I'm going to carry on working down now. What that messy bit was is I'm going to do a loop and button, because what I don't want is the whole thing to sag and to then there be a big draft around here where the hole is. So I want the hole to be able to put my arm through, but I'm going to secure it with a button until I want to put my arm through. Does that make sense? I hope so. Again, more will be explained at month end. But this is all different double knitting weight yarns, all merinos, crocheted with a 4.5mm hook, and I really am making it up as I go along, so I can't offer you a reference to the pattern. But as you can see, I've got cables in there. And at its most basic, the cables are basically raglan increases, but I have been trying it on as I go along, and there are times when I've been increasing more on the front and back than I have on the sleeves, or centre fronts, or a bit more at the back, or what have you. So it's not pretty. I mean, the colours are pretty, the yarn is lovely. There are mistakes in it, but I am going at this with a very laissez-faire attitude, partly because of how it's going to be used. It is unlikely I will ever leave the house in this, because it is designed to be in my office and just to throw over when it's cold. So it's important to me that it's cosy and that it's warm, and this double knitting weight merino is both of those things, and is squishy and is feeling lovely from that point of view. But a little bit of fluff. I'm not too worried about the mistakes. So there are some mistakes in the cables. A little line in here somewhere that shouldn't be there. I think we can sew a button onto that, can't we? Because I'll put some buttons and loops down the front as well. Yeah, so there are mistakes, and what was I saying about, if you can live with them, carry on? I have. So I put some, the equivalent of short rows in the back. Of course, the beauty with crochet is you can just use longer stitches rather than all the backing and forth. Is that a way to describe it? Back and forth thing, backing and forth, working back and forth. You know what I mean. So that's this. And so we've gone from the blues, we're now into the pinks, into the sort of subtle pinks. We've gone through the lilacs into the subtle pinks, and the pinks are going to get a bit brighter, of course. So those are the two things I've mainly been working on, and you'll get details on those on the month end, because I don't think I'll have anything else finished by month end. But you never know. I may get a flash of inspiration / insomnia and keep working. Or keep crafting, rather. So what have we got coming up? Not a huge amount in the plans. This weekend, this Saturday, is a huge amount. It is the Zoom call hosted by Barbara of Flame and Fibre, and the lovely Valerie of A Visit with Nana and Papa does the IT side of things. So you are very welcome to join us all. They're a lovely crowd of people. And if you watch Barbara's podcast, her daily one, and if you don't, I would recommend that you do. She'll tell you about it there and have details of how to get hold of the link. If you're on Ravelry, if you go to the Flame and Fibre podcast group, there's a stickied thread at the top which will give you the link and the code to log in for the Zoom call. So if you're coming along to that, I look forward to seeing you. I will endeavour to stay awake for all of it. If I fall asleep, it will not be boredom. It's just kind of where I'm at the moment. It was all that walking around castles last week. It's done me in. So, all that fresh air. Not used to it. So, hopefully see you on the Zoom. But if not, thank you so much for being here. Again, thanks to all the reactions for last week. Bev and I had a great week, and I will try and persuade her to be co-host again when she's next here. But in the meantime, thanks for being here. Take care of yourselves. Keep well, and I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.